You may have watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but you could have missed a lot of the small details since you were so preoccupied crying over Rocket and his buddies in the High Evolutionary flashback scenes. The film was heartbreaking and action-packed, but it also contained a ton of other subtle touches. Here are the 18 Easter eggs from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 you might have totally missed. Number 1. The movie doesn't begin with a typical Marvel introduction. We get a montage of phrases and scenes from the previous Guardians films instead of the flybys of Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. And this is the first time Marvel Studios has only used footage of the characters appearing in the future film, even though the intro logo sequence normally alters in some way to feature the newest projects. And this serves to highlight the start of the Guardians of the Galaxy's ending. Number 2. Rocket's companion Lylla, an otter, is introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is completing a reference from the first film. During Rocket's interrogation by the Nova Corps, she was mentioned in the first Guardians of the Galaxy as a known associate of his. The Nova Corps' knowledge of Lylla is rather confused as a result of her appearance in Rocket's origin and the terrible death that followed. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 may need to retcon effect from this sequence, though as James Gunn previously said. In order to make Rocket's arc work, it now seems that Lylla's narrative has to be altered. Number 3. Rocket's name's origin is made clear through flashbacks to his early life. He witnesses a rocket launch into the sky as it departs Counter-Earth during one of his sessions with High Evolutionary. And one of the few words that the young raccoon can currently utter is rocket, which makes him dream of the day when he and his companions would soar over the heavens. Because of this, he confesses that he wants to be known as Rocket when they decide to give themselves names other than High Evolutionary's designations, such as 89P13 for Rocket. Number 4, with its colorful outfits, the third installment of Guardians of the Galaxy refers to a classic sci-fi film. Initially, it was believed that the colorful space suits worn by Star-Lord, Drax, Mantis, Nebula, and Gamora when they entered Horoscope were a reference to a well-known video game Among Us. James Gunn, who confirmed the connection on Twitter, said that they are actually allusions to Stanley Kubrick's 2001 masterpiece A Space Odyssey, which featured equally colorful spacesuits. Number 5, in new roles, 2 MCU veterans are brought back by the arrival of Rocket's friends Lylla, Teefs, and Floor. And having previously portrayed Hawkeye's wife Laura Barton in the 2021 Hawkeye, Linda Cardellini now voices Lylla. Michaela Hoover, a long-standing associate of James Gunn, who played a minor part as a member of the Nova Corps in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, is the voiceover for Floor, and Azim Chaudhry is the voice of Teefs. Number 6, when it comes to introducing Counter-Earth to the MCU, Volume 3 does well at conveying High Evolutionary's comic book origins and powers. As the world on which High Evolutionary wants to establish his ideal civilization, the planet is taken directly from the comics. In Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he admits that the need for further experimentation led him to repeatedly have to destroy and reconstruct Counter-Earth. Since its introduction in 1972, Counter-Earth has undergone a few similar rebirths in Marvel's comics. Number 7, James Gunn's work on the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker led to a few DC actors making cameo appearances in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before he joins the DC Studios team. Both Administrator Qual and Yura, 2 Horoscope employees, are portrayed by his wife, Peacemaker actress Jennifer Holland, and Daniela Melchior from the Suicide Squad. Pete Davidson makes a little appearance as well. These are only a few of the performers who will be appearing in Gunn's DC and Marvel films. Others include Nathan Fillion, Michaela Hoover, Michael Rooker, Sean Gunn, Palm Clementieff, and Sylvester Stallone. Number 8, as Peter Quill admits that he was partially to blame for Thanos' snap, one of the most significant MCU references in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 occurs. As Thanos recounts the events of Avengers Infinity War, he says how his emotional response to hearing of Gamora's passing resulted in a situation where the Mad Titan was once again able to take the upper hand. Following the release of Avengers Infinity War, Peter faced a great deal of online criticism for his actions. Now the MCU reference to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 reveals that he accepts partial blame for Thanos' 5-year snap that caused him and half of all life in the universe to become extinct. Number 9, a picture of Peter Quill's parents and grandfather appears in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as cameos. The same rucksack he carried when Yondu kidnapped him in 1988 is where Gamora discovers the Polaroid photo of them with Peter. This is the first time that Peter Quill's memories of his mother extend beyond the awesome mixes. He could have been gazing at the picture of his mother and grandfather all these years. Number 10, another Guardians of the Galaxy 3 cameo can be seen in the gaming scenario in Nowhere, where the broker also appears. When Star-Lord offered to sell the orb to the character, it was the only and final time that it was seen in the film. Since his actions caused Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, and Groot to cross paths and get behind bars, the broker is largely to blame for the formation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 11, several species that High Evolutionary has invented throughout the years are mentioned in the film. Along with the Sovereign, he mentions the creation of the Zeronians and Animan. Although their ruler was in combat with the Hulk, Zeronians were first shown in comic books in 1972 as a non-High Evolutionary humanoid alien race. But as the agents of High Evolutionary, Animan made their comic book debut in 1995. Number 12, a Howard the Duck cameo is a must-have for any Guardians of the Galaxy film, and James Gunn continues the tradition. He appears for a brief moment in a sequence on Nowhere that gives Seth Green the chance to repeat his part. After a brief cameo in Avengers Endgame, this is Howard the Duck's 4th overall live-action appearance in the MCU. After that, it seems that he will remain on Nowhere with the Guardians. Number 13, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 references Drax's daughter once again. While she never actually appears, she is frequently mentioned in relation to Drax's history. The MCU gives Drax's child the name Kamaria, although the comics refer to her as Moondragon. While Kamaria in the MCU is thought to be dead, there is still a chance that Moondragon will someday appear in the live-action franchise. Number 14, Abelisks, the squad of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 last encountered the huge tentacled alien race while battling it to save the Sovereign in the opening scenes of the film. As Mantis develops a bond with them, they play a totally different function in the third film. Since the Abelisk only consume batteries instead of people, this is possible. Number 15, an eagle is among the caged creatures in High Evolutionary's collection for his research, and it could be a reference to James Gunn's Peacemaker program. Even while it might just be a coincidence, the inclusion of Peacemaker's eagle sidekick Eagly in the DC series lends it a bit more significance. The last scene of the film has several interesting depictions of the eagle. A reference to Eagly would make sense given that Peacemaker was the final venture Gunn completed before rejoining the MCU. Number 16, Volume 3 brings in the official name reveal for Peter Quill's grandpa. It is made known that he goes by the name Jason Quill, which is a play on Jason, who is Peter's biological father in the comics. Jason is the emperor of the Spartax Empire in the comic books. Despite the fact that Gunn made Ego Peter Quill's father in the MCU, it is still amusing to make the connection that Jason Quill was formerly a member of the royal alien family. Number 17, in the post-credits scene, if you observe, you can find a reference to Kevin Bacon's part in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Peter's grandfather is pictured reading a newspaper that has a headline regarding a story in which Kevin Bacon divulges information concerning an alien kidnapping. The paper's headline reads, "Alien Abduction, Kevin Bacon Shares All." This is a reference to how Mantis and Drax abducted the movie star to try to cheer up Peter for his Christmas present. Kevin Bacon appeared to still want to tell the media about his trip, even though he had returned safely. Number 18, there is a tag at the conclusion of the credits that reads, "The legendary Star-Lord will return." Marvel Studios has upgraded Peter Quill's superhero identity, which is taken directly from the books. After the character struggled to establish his name as Star-Lord, it refers to Sam Humphrey's 2014 to 2015 solo comic book series Legendary Star-Lord, which featured him as the title character. He may have spent his last time with the Guardians in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but the new superhero identity is a charming tribute to his comic book past. Did we miss anything? If so, do let us know in the comments and make sure to hit on the subscribe button so that you can get notified as soon as a new exciting video is made available.